This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 388, entitled Masculism, LATting and Love. Description. LATting, that's LATting, is living apart together. This flyer claims that in the future there will be two main forms of relationship between the sexes, namely 1. Living together full-time in one house for couples with kids, and 2. LATting, for the older generation and for those younger couples who choose not to have kids. Now the flyer itself. Masculism, LATting and Love by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Probably most of you reading/hearing this flyer are unfamiliar with the term LATting. LAT is an acronym meaning living apart together. It's a lifestyle where both people in the relationship have their own apartment/house, their own incomes, so are generally classified as being singles, yet they have part-time relationships. That is, they are living apart but together in the sense of a part-time relationship. I lat, using the word as a verb. I have a twef equals 2A 2F equals 2 apartments, 2 FIPs equals financially independent persons. Relationship with my girlfriend, who has her own house and is definitely a FIP, having paid off her own house with a very nice 1/3 of an acre garden. We live the LAT lifestyle by seeing each other 3 or 4 days/nights a week, so don't see each other for the other 4 or 3 days/nights of the week. Some weeks ago, I was surprised to read that in the UK, 1/4 of singles live the LATting lifestyle. I thought that what I was doing with my girlfriend was rather innovative, but no. If 1/4 of single Brits are doing the same, then that's millions of people. So what my girlfriend and I are doing is far from innovative, but it's rather commonplace, a new kind of lifestyle that may become very popular, even the new norm. See below. The idea that LATting may become a new norm is the main theme of this flyer, in which I'd like to speculate on what impact such a new lifestyle might have on the quality of relationships between the sexes, which is why I chose the above title, because I think LATting will have a very positive effect. I believe that the sexes are going through a difficult transitionary time at the moment, in which the traditional roles of men and women are being turned on their heads. The pill allowed women to choose effectively the number of kids they wanted, which is typically 0, 1 or 2. So with modern medicine and a life expectancy well into the 80s, women now have a career window of half a century, so women have streamed into the workforce so that men can afford to work a lot less, not having to be man-slaves to women, paying for them to have many kids in a middle-class house that he pays for, being the sole breadwinner while his wife stays at home raising a dozen kids. Those days are long gone, while we today are in the middle of the transition period as men adapt to new lifestyles that are allowed to them by the pill and female financial independence. Men can now get the sex they want from women without having to pay the traditional very heavy price of being a manslave to a female financial parasite who lived off his money. Most of my Masculist videos are on the theme of discrimination against men, lashing out at how women oppress men with their financial parasitism, their man-slavery, their fluffy feminist hypocrisy in the divorce courts, their bitter opposition to the legislation of the paternity rejection right, There are decades-long lasting gender crimes against men. For example, paternity fraud, where the husband is not the father. Women's pill lying, telling their boyfriends/husbands that they are taking the pill when they are not, trying to get pregnant, then forcing him to pay for a kid he does not want, manslaving him for decades. So, there's plenty of material for me as a masculist to lash out at women for. But this flyer is a bit different. It looks ahead to a time when the gender political dust has settled. That is, new lifestyles and gender norms have evolved, which will allow the two sexes to live much more peaceably together. This flyer investigates, speculates on just what forms these lifestyles might take. I think one of the main ones will be LATting. I see LATting become the new norm for couples who don't want kids or have seen their kids grow up and leave home. What are the great advantages of LATting for the man and the woman, or for the man alone, or for the woman alone? I'll begin with a discussion of the advantages of LATting for the man. Since LATting is a form of tway-tweffing, there is no cost involved in paying for a woman, as was the case in traditional relationships in which the woman was a financial parasite and the man a manslave working for the woman. Tway-tweffing kills all that. So a man can get regular sex and regular companionship from a woman without having to be a manslave to her. This is a huge advantage and a liberation for the man. Another major advantage for the man of LATting is that since it is a part-time relationship, for example, the one I have with my girlfriend, that is 3-4ing or 4-3ing, it imposes both a form of discipline and a hunger on the relationship. I need to explain. During the 4 days that I don't see my girlfriend, by the time that I do get to see her again, I am hungry to see her. I'm looking forward to it, since I have been denied her company and have lived alone for 4 days, quite a period of time. So a form of companionship hunger is generated that keeps the relationship fresh, both conversationally and sexually. It also generates a form of discipline, in the sense that it demands a level of civility and politeness that full-time relationships often lack. My girlfriend and I are both very conscious that the only thing that holds us together is the quality of the relationship. If either of us gets fed up with it, then we can so easily walk away. So we are motivated to be civil with each other, not to nag, especially on the part of the woman. I consider it highly likely that women evolved to nag men in order to be able to extract more resources from men in prehistoric times, when women were totally dependent on men for meat that men gave women in exchange for sex. Which is why the human female evolved to be the sexiest of mammals, being in days of sexual heat every day of the month. I think that with full-time relationships, there's a real risk that the man and the woman in the couple become complacent, overexposed to each other, so that they tend to lose their civility, their politeness and niceness to each other. By LATting, this overexposure to each other is greatly reduced, so that the relationship remains fresh. I once had a neighbour who was a tank soldier, who was often away from home on manoeuvres, who told me that each time he returned home, it was as though the relationship was made new, refreshed. He liked it being that way, although his wife complained that he was away too often. I think there is also a need for what the Americans call space, that is, the need to be on one's own for a fraction of the week, in which one is free to have one's own thoughts, not to be constantly distracted by the presence of one's partner. I know that this is certainly the case with me, and my girlfriend has said much the same. Both of us like the LATting we do, and enjoy it from a psychological point of view. It allows us to be together and to be apart, doing our own things, having our own thoughts, and leading our own lives. There's also a pragmatic feature to LATting, and that is, prior to getting to know each other, we have had our own lives, our own histories, and especially our own properties. For example, in my own case, I have my own apartment, and my girlfriend has her own house. She had her friends in her neighbourhood and did not want to be disturbed or separated from all that. I have similar claims. So by LATting, we get the best of both worlds. She gets to keep her lifestyle, her friends, her old life, and gains a boyfriend. So gets the male companionship she needs and regular orgasms. A similar logic applies to me as well. This is the end of part 1.